ないように。たけしはどう？たけしはどう？食べ過ぎないように。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Summoner School Learning 5 stream. I am your host, Piscator Josh, and today we have our very first North American show match. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with us, Learning Fives is a free community-run program that groups players looking to improve at League of Legends into teams and pairs them with volunteer coaches. Under this guidance, the teams take on the ranked fives ladder, improving their gameplay as a group. During each session, the Summoner School events team showcases several team matches to show off just what they've been working on. Alright, so tonight our match will be between Team Dank Meme, coached by Sornbrew, and Team He Is A, coached by Hie. The teams will face off in 2 consecutive matches, the best of 2 format, giving them the opportunity to make mid-series adjustments. While the stream and the program are educational at their roots, we still expect these players to give it their all on the Rift. Now, let's launch in to the pre-game discussion. We're going to get a chance to talk to the coaches a bit to get a better picture of their teams and get some information on what they've been working on. Our first team up for tonight is going to be Team Dank Meme, coached by Sornbrew. In the top lane, we have Skeletor 420. In the jungle, we have Confuzzle DC. Mid lane played by X Lionheart, ADC, and support rounded out by This Isn't Gosu and Salty Reese. And we do have our coach Sornbrew with us today. How you doing, dude?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Now, I know we're at the end of this initial first Learning 5 session, so your team has come quite a long way, and I'm really, really excited that we're going to get to see a really good picture of their progress tonight. But let's bring it back all the way to the beginning. When this team first came together, what was your first impression of the group? Any notable standouts or things that you immediately knew you had to work on? What was your first impression?
The biggest standout to me actually wasn't really in the gameplay aspect, but it was really the personalities, because my team is very good at working together as a group, and they're very positive and supportive of each other. They just have a very good ability to work together in a lot of the games, and it really shows because even when we've had some losses throughout a lot of the practices, the team has been really good at just supporting each other throughout a lot of that, sticking together, and just having a really good learning attitude and environment.
That's really great to hear everybody getting off on the right foot right away. We're going to introduce our other team now. This is going to be Team He Is A, coached by Hie. Hie is leading the team of Team He Is A. Top laner is going to be Lamter, jungle, Mr. Hype, mid laner, Prytania, ADC, and support. Nice work, Boyo, and ASEC Music. Hie, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
All right, now we heard a little bit about Stormbrew's team, what his first impressions are. I want to ask you the same exact question. What was your first impression of your team? How did you feel the group really? How did it go at first?
I'm gonna have to agree with Sornbrew in that the thing that stood out mostly was my team's personality. No one really was the same. We would have some people who are really over enthusiastic, some people who are super quiet. And while that might seem like a bother to some people, I think it's a really good thing because it's all these different people coming together to play the same game.
Now, do you think that kind of meshing of different styles of personality, do you think that really, really helped you in the long run, as you look at it 4 weeks, 5 weeks from now since the beginning?
Oh yeah, I think for sure it's definitely going to help us in the long run because if everyone's thinking the same way about the game and something needs to change, then nothing's going to change if they're all thinking the same thing. But if they all have different views, then we can find a happy medium of all of them and then hopefully succeed from there.
Variety, definitely the spice of life. I'm going to throw you just another question. Well, it's great to hear that both teams really got off to a strong start in terms of everybody kind of meshing together relatively well. There had to have been some obstacles that you encountered. Given that this is a learning program, everybody's here because they want to improve. Everybody brings their own sort of problems and league weaknesses to the table. So did you have any notable obstacles as a team, whether it's chemistry, mechanics, some people might be good at solo queue but might not transition well to team play? What's something that your team kind of struggled with?
I think it isn't really something that only my team would struggle with. It's that these aren't professional players, obviously. They're not going to know every single champion, every little mechanic about said champions. So it is really just about finding what they're comfortable on and then switching them into a position where they can succeed without stealing the success from other players.
That is good to hear everybody working towards the betterment of the team. Throwing it back to Sornbrew now for TDM. So same question to you. Like, any notable obstacles in your progression as a team? Anything that really came up that really threw a snag into the gears?
Well, as he said, I mean, they aren't pro players, so naturally everyone has particular weaknesses at the game. But as a team, I think the biggest weakness for us has really been we don't really have one player that stepped up and really became a shot caller, especially in the beginning. And so our team decisions, while they were generally made together, weren't always made in a very coordinated manner because everybody didn't necessarily have the same goal. And so we've had a few issues where we've had people that might think in two different directions, and occasionally we've had some pretty interesting team fights where they span halfway across the map because of it.
Definitely a weakness that can be encountered, especially when pickup teams come together in a short amount of time. But while there are weaknesses that were addressed within the span of the program, what are some like strengths that you really noticed in your players? Or sometimes teams come together and they just automatically click in some regard. Was there anything that Team Dank Meme really did well from the start?
Well, we've had a pretty strong showing of some of our players where we have players that are very capable of carrying the game pretty single-handedly. So we have a multitude of players who can really take over the game if they get a decent lead. And so if we get rolling, a lot of times we can take over the entire game pretty rapidly when one of our hard carry players really gets going.
That's really cool. And hopefully you guys were able to implement like a lane advantage into a map advantage for the entire team. Do you think we're going to see some of that tonight?
Oh, I think we're going to see some pretty interesting stuff.
Very interesting stuff.
Yes, we had, I will say we had a scrim a couple days ago against TA's team, and there were some pretty exciting matches. So I am looking forward to see how both teams perform today because I think it's going to be some very interesting play.
Well, that's what we're here for, interesting play. Interesting is always better than just pure vanilla. It makes it more fun. I'm going to throw it back to Hiei for Team HIA. We talked about like weaknesses. I don't think you really addressed any sort of weaknesses that Team Hiei really particularly struggled with. Do you want to touch on maybe some of those things that you really struggled with over the past 4 or 5 weeks?
Something that we've really struggled with is finding multiple playstyles that we can play at all the same level. Right now, I'd say we're a pretty one-dimensional team, which I think I'm content with for right now if we can just exceed expectations at one comp, and then slowly as that team gets better, we can transition them onto other comps. But for right now, I'd say our weakness is that we're just one-dimensional.
So while you are one dimension, what's that one dimension that you're like really strong at them that Team Hiei just like absolutely excels at?
I don't know, you're just gonna have to find out this game.
Oh, not wanting to give away any strategy in the pregame,
Yeah.
probably a great idea. Now, we focused a lot about like how our teams have progressed, how our players have kind of grown as team members, but I want to also bring it back because this Learning Fives program isn't only about teams and players getting together to improve their League of Legends gameplay. It also gives coaches the opportunity to really flex, to really try it out. You don't have to be a challenger or a master player in order to participate as a coach in this program. We have coaches spanning from gold all the way to challenger. And some people, you don't have to be an excellent league player in order to be a good teacher. So really also a great development program for aspiring coaches. So Hiei, I'm going to ask you first, when you first entered this program and to seeing where you are today, like how do you think you've improved as a coach and what have you really taken away from Learning Fives?
As a coach, I have done coaching before, but that was only with one player at a time. I would participate in some of the summer school events like the mentoring thread. I'd take on multiple mentees at a time and coach them, but I've never actually coached a ranked fives team, so this really does test my foresight into the game and not just a player's strategy and how he thinks about the game. I was actually joking around with my team a few minutes beforehand, and I said, wow, pick and banning's really hard. I don't know how LCS coaches do this. It's like finding a puzzle and it never fits right.
When I was a child, I would just smack pieces together and the puzzle didn't fit. I would just blame the puzzle. But I'm guessing that's not the most constructive thing to do in a League of Legends environment. Yeah, it is interesting to bring up because a lot of times we watch LCS and we're like, oh man, I know Peter on Team Liquid gets a lot of flack for not having good pick ban, but it's until you really step into those shoes, you really can't really understand how hard it is. You go up there with the game plan, all of a sudden somebody throws out a crazy pick, and then you're just kind of scrambling to make sense of it all. But I'm gonna throw the same question to Sornbrew. Like, what have you gotten out of this program as a coach?
Well, like here, I have been participating in Summoner School since the workshops that happened a while ago. So I also have done a little bit of teaching and coaching stuff, but definitely teaching a full team of players is very different than just doing one or two individually, because there is so much more to focus on. But it also really helps you kind of improve your abilities to talk about the game as a whole, because you have to break down a lot of concepts to the other players, and when you see players doing certain things, you not only have to talk about what their issues are, but you really have to work on a plan to actually solve those things. So it's really a very comprehensive job in itself, and very rewarding too. Hanging out with just all these guys is a lot of fun, but it's definitely a very hard work to do.
And that's something that everybody on staff, everybody as part of the program really, really appreciates. Just reminding everybody, nobody's getting paid to do this. None of us on the volunteer staff are getting any sort of like monetary gain from it. Everybody is doing this because everybody just is passionate about League of Legends and the improvement. That's what Summoner School is all about, helping players improve, bringing a group of people together to really help each other, like I said, get better. But we touch a lot on each individual team, your thoughts and your progression as coaches. We're going to throw it to the game really soon. But before we do that, I want to just get some last comments from you guys. If you guys have anything you want to say, Sornbrew, any last comments before we throw it to Pickman?
Well, these are the first matches for the North American Learning 5, so I'm really excited and very happy to be the first, one of the first teams to really represent the program. I just want to say thanks to everybody who's watching, because I think it's great to have all the support, and good luck to Hie and your team, and I hope we have a good match tonight.
Awesome, thanks, Sornbrew. And Hie, any final thoughts before we throw it to this best-of-2 series?
Yeah, same thing as Sornbrew. It's a really big honor to be representing the first inaugural game for NA. Hopefully it is a good game, and I appreciate every single person in chat, every single person watching, because this is really going to epitomize what Summoner School is. It's a community of people getting together to get better, and it's a give and take. Everyone learns, and everyone learns from each other.
All right, so exciting to see and hear all the coaches. So excited. Guys, I want to thank you so much. We're going to let the coaches go. Sornbrew and Hie are going to jump into chat with their respective teams, and they're going to lead them through pick ban. But I'm going to throw it to our casters for tonight for Game 1. We have Dune Bogey and BC Jumpman casting the first game in the best-of-1 series between TDM and HIA. Stay tuned, guys. Picks and bans will be up in just like 10 seconds.
Alrighty, what's up, guys? As you heard from Pisket or Josh, this is the NA inaugural stream for the Learning Fives event. We are about to get this game underway right here. I'm going to be your color commentator for the night, BC Jumpman. Alongside me, I got Mr. Doombogey on the play-by-play. What's up, buddy?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we are about to get this underway, just waiting for him to start, and we are getting into the game right here. We do have Team PIA versus Team Dank, Team Dank Meme, as they call it. What are you thinking right now so far, dude?
I have no idea what these teams are capable of, so I am just willing to... Yeah, I just want to see if they're going to go with something pretty much tried and true. Good things for kind of those early sorts of teams that you see, which is heavy team fight potential. Not so much as far as poke comps, not so much as far as those like heavy juggernaut kind of comps, but just a pretty simple comp that goes all together.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of options right now. We do have the Morgana band out already. We haven't actually been seeing a lot of target Morgana bands, but as that being said, we also have the Nautilus band coming out as well. 2 support band focuses already. It looks like we might see some contested picks in his bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really strong. Nautilus is kind of one of those point-and-click, really easy CC bots, so it's not going to be difficult for a Nautilus support to kind of get rolling and to accomplish what it needs to accomplish. Along those same lines, Jinx actually did get changed a bit in 5.10, which is actually live, I believe, now. Correct me if I'm wrong? Yeah.
No, it is. We are live.
Right. So 5.10, Jinx got changed a little bit, and essentially that she's a little bit weaker in the early game, and but she's stronger in the late game. Essentially, her minigun scales slightly differently. That with levels, she actually scales a lot better with that minigun now. It should ramp up her late game potential, and so I think what Blue Team is trying to do here is kind of prevent some really strong late game champions.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen the success of the Jugger Jinx comp, and especially with the rise of the Cinderhulk in the last few patches, and the top laners that can, just do whatever they want, then a comp like that is really heavily favored. And so they went ahead and took that out. They also took out the Sejuani and the Ahri right here now. So we've got picks all over, but the story of the night is going to be the top lane. Both of these players, both Lamter and his opposing top laner Skeletor, both Wukong mains, and so this was going to be a very contested pick right off the bat in this series. It looks like Sornvru's team is actually going to get the first pick with that Wukong, so this is going to be a Wukong in the top lane, and to combat that, Lamter's actually going to go with a Scion, and then it looks like we're going to start to see an semblance of a team fighting comp with this Orianna in the mid lane.
Yeah, what I'm really interested in as far as the top lane goes is, so it's not actually that bad for Lamter, a Wukong main himself, to not be able to get Wukong, because he will know what does and doesn't work against Wukong, and by knowing that, he can actually try to counterpick it. He's going to try to do it with this Scion. He probably knows the matchup better than anyone else. Hopefully Skeletor 420, because let's pronounce his full name here, knows the matchup, but I'm interested to see how this ends up going, as both of them should be intimately familiar with pretty much all top lane matchups involving Wukong, but I'm definitely interested to see how that turns out.
Yeah, the Battle of the Teleports is going to be real, but with that, on the flip side, TDM decides to go with a very aggressive bot lane right here. We do have a Draven lock-in, which, again, both of the AD carries do enjoy playing that Draven, and so we've got a Draven as well as a Thresh right there. So they're going to be in for blood, they're going to be in for kills, but to flip that around, this team fight comp that, we started to see with the Sion and Orianna pick gets followed up with a Vi and a Nami. They're going for this all-in comp to, just wreck everything that TDM is going to try to do.
Yeah, I mean, so as opposed to something like a pick comp, which is kind of what you're going to be going for when you have Wukong and Thresh, you're kind of, I mean, it is still strong team fight, but you have a lot of pick potential, especially with the LeBlanc lock-in. There is a lot of AoE there, but not so much the same sort of control that you get in a team fight that red team's going to end up having. Between the Scion, the Vi, and the Nami, you're going to have a lot of dive onto the enemy team. You're going to have a lot of things going towards the enemy team's backline, and it's going to be hard to stop, just because there are like 3 things there that are like uncounterable. You can't stop it. The Orianna also providing a lot of utility when it comes to either kind of defensively ulting, or also just putting the ball on the Vi, putting the ball on the Scion, and that's pretty much easy mode there. That being said, Purple Team's gonna want to go with something as an AD carry that is relatively safe, because if you look at Blue Team, they're gonna be featuring a Wukong, a LeBlanc, and a Jarvan, all potential to be dived on, and it's up to Nami almost exclusively to try to get that peel going. And so I think that Purple Team is going to need to go with a safe AD carry, and they do. I think Caitlyn is a perfect pickup for this composition, just because they need something that can kind of sit back a little far from range, has some sort of escape, and will be something that, maybe builds like a Bloodthirster pretty early, just so she can get up that shield and have a higher amount of health, rather than something a little bit squishier and a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah, but, flipping it around, I do thoroughly enjoy what TDM is trying to do with this game. They've got a very strong mid game. The LeBlanc, as we all know, has immense amounts of burst potential. She has been nerfed, time and time again, but at the same time, she still has the burst. She still has the strength of an assassin. You pair that with someone who has an insane damage output like a Draven, and if TDM gets rolling, it's going to be very, very scary to see exactly what they're going to do right here. But with that being said, we are getting into the final countdown of this game right here. But let's go ahead and dissect these teams a little bit more. Like we've seen, Caitlyn is just going to be sitting in the back, and you have a very good control mage with the Orianna, and you have a support team around them to just fight all in, to have really good team comps. They've got a great amount of CC, and it's really going to be a test, should I say, from TDM if they decide to, team fight. Because if they decide to go in, this is an issue that TDM faces. They have great all-in, but once they're in, they really don't have anything else. Their disengage is a lot worse than their engage, whereas you look over on HIA right now, and you've got the Nami. And what's so great about the Nami is the tidal wave can be used not only to engage with her team, but also to disengage. And so if she utilizes that summoner spell, if she uses that ultimate correctly, then he's going to be disengaging the Jarvan, disengaging the Thresh Hook, disengaging the Wukong away, and giving her team time to catch back up or to run away. And that is going to be, the tide turner, should I say, when it comes down to this game into these team fights.
That was really, really bad, so I'm just going to ignore it. But basically, yeah, what TDM's going to want to do here is they kind of have more of a classic pick comp. You don't really have a super strong AoE, just because Wukong and Jarvan don't really provide a lot of AoE magic damage or a lot of AoE necessarily control the same way that a Scion will, or like a Nami tidal wave. What you're looking for if you're TDM is to kind of get ahead early, and that's especially true with Jarvan taking exhaust. No flash on him means that he's going to be trying to get as many ganks as possible, lock down someone in the back lines, and between him, LeBlanc, and Thresh, it's very, very good to get these picks, because if you can get a pick and you're TDM, you can start to snowball the game, and Draven, Jarvan, and Wukong are all excellent at snowballing. So I'd say this early game is really, really key here, and I think that actually stems a lot from what we see out of the bot lane. Having Draven and Thresh get a huge advantage early on will have a big impact once they start breaking out of lanes. And if Caitlyn and Nami can draw even, I'd say they won that lane, because they just need to play very, very careful. There's no way they're going to be able to outfight a Draven Thresh or in the early game, especially with Nami taking exhaust and Thresh having ignite. It's going to be on HIA to kind of make it to that mid game, not be too far behind, get some objective control, and fight when it's beneficial to them. That meaning when all their ultimates are, when they can chain all the CC together, they can dive onto the backlines, they can focus down the Draven, they can try to build something to negate a lot of the LeBlanc damage, and if they can get Wukong and Jarvan not to fall behind, but at least to stay even, then they're not going to be putting out as much damage.
Yeah, and then, as the final point right before we go into the load screen, I do want to touch base on the fact that we do have a lot of summoner spell discrepancies that they're mentioning in the chat and that we need to make a point of. Jarvan, for TDM, he is deciding not to go with the Smite Flash. Instead, he's opting to go with Smite Exhaust, and then Thresh on support is going with an Ignite in the bot lane. So they're looking to be aggressive in the early game. They're looking to press their advantage early and really try to snowball this game forward. And when you have someone like a LeBlanc and a Draven, and even a Wukong in some regards, if that snowball happens, it's going to be very difficult for HIA to do anything. But that being said, we are going into the load screen right now. We're going to take a little bit break as we wait for these teams to get loaded onto the Rift. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Hype it up. Is you going, or who is going to win here? You can hashtag it TDM win or hashtag HIA win. We will see you guys in a couple minutes.
Alright, guys, well, let's get into the game. We're waiting on the champions to spawn here, but I can start introducing the teams. We have TDM, Team Dank Meme, against HIA, Team He Is and we're going to be running through the matchups here. So Skeletor 420 is going to be our first introduced player. He's going to be playing the Wukong here in the top lane, playing against the Wukong King himself. Says a sec. I have no idea how to say this Jarvan's name. It has something to do with Peregrines. X Lionheart's going to be taking up the role of LeBlanc. This isn't Gosu on the Draven. And finally, Salty Reese going to be taking up the Thresh. Jump, let's get into this game. Let's finish introducing the teams.
Let's do it for HIA Team He Is A. We do have in the top lane the proclaimed Monkey King actually not getting to play on his Wukong, Mr. Lambter on that Scion. For the jungle, we have Nice Work Boyo on Vi. For the mid laner, we've got Prytania on the lovely Orianna. And for the bot lane duo, we've got Mr. Hype on Caitlyn and Asec Music on Nami. So, getting into this game right now, we don't really have anything fancy. We actually don't have any wards, but we do have 3 members right here hanging out in this island bush, maybe wanting to start something fresh.
Well, see here, so it's kind of interesting that you have a 2 teams that are going to be coached together, and neither of them has a set level 1 invade. We saw this in the EU matchup that both teams that first game had a very, very distinct pattern that they were going to do in the level 1. They had a very set strategy, and neither of these teams really seem to do it here. You see a couple of early wards placed, but most of the wards are actually not going down. So I wonder if these teams practiced on the level 1 strategies, or if they just kind of more focused on their comps, their picks, and maybe their shot calling. But as of right now, it's a really, really safe start for both junglers.
Yeah, both junglers opting to start with the Gromp right here, so they're going to be taking very different paths. They're going to be on different sides of the map, and so the effects of counter ganking isn't necessarily going to be something that we're going to see right off the bat. We are going to have standard lanes right here as well. Nothing extraordinary. We've got both top laners starting with the Flask start, so they're going to be, looking to trade, looking to do a little bit of craziness. There is no level 1 cheese, as both junglers do head over to do the level 2 blue buff. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it's really going to come down to for HIA to allow themselves to get out of this early game and get into some team fight mid-game fights, because that's where they're going to shine the most. And I look to see them, really trying to prioritize vision control, because we all know how great of ganks Jarvan can pull off, and especially with this exhaust summoner spell, that's going to be a lot more sticking potential.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see this Jarvan go for the early blue and not go for like an early level 2 gank. Vi's going to be taken very low as well, and she's not even going to be able to do another camp. She's actually opting to do this Scuttle Crab here. We saw also in the bot lane that it's a bit of a bully coming out from the Thresh, and it's actually Orianna taking a lot of damage in the mid lane, level 2. But what I was going to point out is the Thresh, okay, Jarvan, stop dying. He should be able to clear that, no problem. But it's going to be an engagement here in the bot lane. Draven's going to get taken slightly under half health. I guess the damage from Caitlyn and Nami can be very high if Draven isn't the one who gets the initiation potential. But at the same time, there is an overall, bullying potential from these laners. It looks like Vi finished up that Scuttle Crab, warded near the race here, and is looking to get a level 2 gank onto this LeBlanc. Vi having her charge, but doesn't opt to go for it. LeBlanc's just a bit too healthy. She isn't engaging on the Orianna, and not wanting to do that. Meanwhile, in the top lane, just real quick, we have Scion pushing in the Wukong. Wukong a little bit struggling here. One thing that I don't like that Wukong's doing is he actually chugged through his potions before he chugged through his flash charges. The flash charges are always going to be able to come back to him later, and it's kind of hurting him that he's wasting money on stuff that he might not need to use later on in the lane.
Yeah, exactly. Flipping back over to the mid lane real quick now, we did have an engagement while the bot lane was fighting. LeBlanc ended up blowing both of her summoner spells, so she's down Flash and Ignite while also popping the barrier for the Orianna. So, they're already starting really aggressive. Good thing for this Orianna, though, is that she is keeping up in farm, and so if she can just, go as even as possible as she opts to go back right now, and just not allow LeBlanc to get any of these kills, then she is going to be more important in these team fights, and she's going to create a lot more utility. Meanwhile, it looks like Jarvan wants some blood.
Yeah, Jarvan's going to be ganking the bot lane here, but an excellent bubble coming out that stops Thresh. Jarvan's going to be doing what he can with the red buff. The Thresh is actually going to land the hook. The Ignite also going down. Caitlyn going to be forced to heal as she is exhausted. but between that and the Nami heal, she will be able to get out just using her flash there. Good level 3 gank from Jarvan.
Yeah, that was fantastic. The bubble was, the perfect disengage by Essek Music, but, it got negated by a glorious Thresh hook right there, blowing the flash and the heal for Caitlyn. So even though, they didn't get a kill, that's 2 very important summoner spells down for any type of further trades. She's going to have to be more careful for that. Jarvan decides to go back. He is, as well as Vi, going to start and get the Stalker's Blade. So they're not going to go for the safer Ranger's Trailblazer that we're seeing a lot of junglers go these days, but they're actually going to go for the Stalker's Blade, and that right there tells me they're going to gank. They want to show as much pressure across the map as they can, and if they do this, if they can do this correctly, that is going to result in an early dragon and a snowball for one of these teams.
Yeah, I do like that. The only other thing I want to point out is that we had Sion actually go back and not use his teleport, and he's rocking now a Doran shield against this Wukong. So Wukong's going to be doing almost nothing against the Sion. This is wondering that Lambter, a Wukong main, is able to kind of zone out the Wukong here, knowing that this is a advantageous matchup for the Sion. I do like to see what he's doing here. Vi once again standing around in this mid lane after Orianna and LeBlanc both had their turns going back. Not really sure that she's going to be able to get anything. She has to wait for LeBlanc to get aggressive. LeBlanc looking like she wanted to do that, but there's just too big of a creep wave, I think, right now for her to kind of aggress. And it is going to be Vi actually going back with about 600, 700 gold. I wonder what she's going to pick up with that little splurge.
Yeah, Vi needed to go back right there. It was just, you really just don't have the kill potential pre-level 6 for both the jungler and the mid laner right here for HIA. That being said, though, Orianna doing a really good job at forcing this LeBlanc to just really stay in, and as we all know, LeBlanc has some troubles farming in this early game, and so if she can zone her out and allow her to miss this CS, then that's going to prove extremely beneficial for her in the future. Meanwhile, we have the level 5 on the level 5 just hit right here for this Jarvan. And Vi is almost level 5 as well. So, he's got a little bit of an XP advantage, and that's going to be good. But that being said, we've got both bot laners right here for HIA actually pushing forward right now and trying to get a little bit of roam. That's going to allow This Isn't Gosu to, farm by himself. He's already up 10 farm right here, and this is just not something you want to do. That's a lot of lost XP, and if this bot lane for TDM gets their level 6 first, then all they need to do is just call for a Jarvan gank, or they might not even have to call for one at all, and really just put the pain on this bot lane for HIA.
Well, so one of the issues there that I don't really like them going, kind of just leaving the lane with Caitlyn and Nami, is that I guess Caitlyn wanted to wait for her BF sword, but at the same time, you need to be looking for something, and I think a play towards Dragon would have been the smarter choice. They had a pink in the river brush there, and they knew where the Jarvan was, so they didn't necessarily need to be worried about it. And early dragons are very powerful in this current meta right now. We do see Caitlyn actually has about that money for BF. Draven already went back and got his. As Caitlyn did go back earlier after getting extremely low and just buying pots off it, so she decided not to go for any kind of intermediate items. She just wants to get to that BF as quickly as possible, probably opting for that Infinity Edge. We also see Vi is going to be handing off the blue buff here to Orianna, pretty normal here. Orianna probably going to be going for a pretty standard Athene's, I want to say. It could also be a Morello's, depending on how threatened she feels by the LeBlanc. It's basically if she feels how her barrier is going to end up working, how that's going to combine, I think is going to be the big thing here. LeBlanc also getting handed off blue buff from the Jarvan, and Sion just trying to check a bit there, but not able to cause any sort of disruption.
Yeah, I gotta flip it back to this top lane though, because as we both know, these are Wukong mains right here, and Skeletor is really gonna find himself in a difficult decision. Yes, he went back, he got the Brutalizer, so he's gonna have that armor pen and AD, but you've already got 2 cloth armors as well as the Doran's shield right here for Lambter, so he understands this matchup. He knows the amount of damage that a Wukong can crank out, and so he's just doing all he can to just farm up. He's staying even in farm and try his best to just outscale this Wukong's damage, and if he can do that, then that's really going to negate this monkey a whole lot and create a much more successful bot lane, or sorry, front line should I say, for HIA. So that being said, we do have both AD carries went back. They did buy the BF sword right now, but you do have an all-in right now for Lambert. He's trying to do something.
Yeah, it's just going to be like a Scion ult popped for nothing. He doesn't really have enough damage. He's maxing Q, which means both his shout as well as the roar and the soul furnace shield won't be doing a lot of damage, magic damage to the Wukong. And Q does end up taking up a lot of mana. Or actually, no, it's a decent amount when it's spammed so much, and he just wants to go back. He has no pressure to actually kind of force any fights against this Wukong. He just wants to deny farm as much as he can. The other thing that's worth pointing out is it's going to be Vi starting the dragon here. It is warded, and so she's going to be backing off of it, but she and Jarvan are both level 6 here in the bot lane. Looks like Jarvan's going to go for the flag and drag, just barely miss, but get the red buff proc. It is going to be a thresh hook to follow it up, but it does end up missing, and blue team TDM will end up having to back off of this one.
Yeah, this isn't Gosu getting pushed to his tower right now, but farming is going to be easy with those Draven axes. That being said, we do have an all-in right here on Nice on Boyo.
It's going to be a Vi ult, but the Orianna sombrero, the Orianna ult is just going to miss. Jarvan's going to come in. He's going to get the ult down on the Vi. He's taking a lot of damage. Nami and Caitlyn have actually responded quicker than the Draven, and it will be first blood going. But it is actually Caitlyn who's going to get pulled in for the Thresh. The hook is going to drag her back, and the box isn't going to do anything, and Caitlyn escapes with her life as LeBlanc is unable to follow up with any damage of her own.
Yeah, I mean, that right there, even though it wasn't a full-blown 5v5 fight, you saw the team-fighting prowess and the amount of ultimate synchronization that you have on Team HIA, and that right there was really what helped them a whole lot, as X Lionheart is really trying to clear this wave out so they don't take this tower. But, that was a 1-0 victory in favor of HIA, finally getting first blood at about 11 minutes, but they're going to go back now. Dragon's still going to be up. Our next fight is probably going to be this dragon as Salty Reese clears out this pink ward right here, because this first dragon is really what's going to help them. When you have someone who has the range that Mr. Hype has on Caitlyn, you're going to want to get a good amount of early AD. That way you can push these towers because, she's glorious at that. And with her range, she can really make sure she can stay safely and get these towers down and try to push this farther into the mid game as quickly as possible, because that's what they're going to need. Like what we said before the match, if they can get this done, then it's going to be better. But meanwhile, you've got Lambter wanting to go in, missing on the clone.
Yeah,
actually,
he's had a couple of random Scion ults. He hasn't used his TP whatsoever, whereas we see Wukong TPing back to lane. I'm not really sure what this TP is being used for, as it's gone 12 minutes in the game without doing anything. He's not really able to do enough damage to this Wukong to threaten any sort of kill potential. He's initiating with ultimates. It just looks like he hasn't practiced that much Scion, or he's just lacking a bit in his micro for playing Scion at this point. Other things noting is that we did have, some vision wars going on early in the game, but it looks like blue team's actually going to be taking control of a bit of vision here around the Dragon Pit. Jarvan clearing out a pink ward after we saw Thresh and Draven clear one out about a minute or two ago. Other than that, pretty normal lanes so far, which is actually, like we were saying, it's on Team Dank Meme, it's on the blue team to try to kind of get these picks and try to get their champions rolling as much as they can, because a lot of their champions depend so much on the snowball.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, it's going to come down to this dragon. And if you look at the vision control right now, flipping between, red and blue side vision, you've got a lot better vision right here in favor of TDM. They've got wards all around this top size entry on the jungle, but it's going to come down to this vision denial. Something that gets overlooked a lot is not necessarily the amount of vision control you have, but how much vision you're denying the other team. And if they can keep this up, if they can keep this vision control, and not allow for any extended vision control from HIA, then they're going to be in a really good position to get this dragon. And another thing worth noting is, your exhaust is almost up on Jarvan right here, so that's going to be available for this next fight. And so with an extra combat spell in the exhaust, this next fight is going to prove hopefully in favor
it's actually
of
going to be a
TDM
flash
if you use it.
Wukong. Actually, he was ulting on the top lane. A bit of a missed fight there, but it was Wukong ulting onto the Scion there, actually picking up the kill as he took one tower shot for it, but Scion just not there, and Wukong putting up enough damage between the Brutalizer and Pickaxe. Meanwhile, it looks like a bit of a fight in the bot lane. It's going to be slightly taking taking the Draven to a little under half health. Caitlyn's doing a good job zoning. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, LeBlanc's going to be doing her best. She has Morello Namicon to Ori's Athenes. Ori not opting to pop barrier, but LeBlanc does threaten a lot of damage at this point when she has that 20% CDR item. Ori's going to be picking up her second blue off the game. LeBlanc not following up with that, as it is Jarvan clearing wards here in the bot lane, not handing off the blue buff. We might see another fight here in the bot lane, or at least something that could be called a fight by some people.
Yeah, some really good traps right there by Mr. Hype to, really push and funnel them away from the side, and that's going to push them right into Boyo's range for that ultimate. And if they can get this fight right here, whoever wins is probably going to get this next dragon, as the Dragon Pit ward expires, so there is no vision on it right now. A ward comes out, or sorry, not a ward, a ping comes out right here for HIA to understand where Jarvan is. He's going to go back, he's going to get his red buff, but, you are starting to see a lot of AD coming out of Skeletor's Wukong right now. He understands that he got the kill. The Frozen Heart is not finished yet on Sion, so he's going to go back, grab the pickaxe, 2 longswords, so he's going to have a whole lot of damage right now, almost 180 AD, and he's going to look to try to bully out Lamter as much as he can, and really try to forego that outscale that Sion does on the Wukong. But it looks like there's a fight in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's going to be Jarvan going in, ulting the Orianna. Orianna going to use every spell except her ultimate available, but it will be LeBlanc picking up the kill there in the end. LeBlanc just does too much damage. Orianna got a bit chunked down and never really healed it up. She was low on pots the whole time and gonna pay for it with her life. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, you did see Draven taking a lot of damage and was forced to go back. This Caitlyn Nami lane is staying really good at range, avoiding hooks as much as they can, and are able to actually stay ahead in this lane. Meanwhile, you have some pretty constant trading going on in this top lane. We saw the Wukong getting a kill once, and let's see if he is gonna try to snowball that at all. His ultimate is back up. He's gonna be getting as much damage down as he can, as Sion is just trying to rush towards that Frozen Heart. Sion still with the TP advantage here. Wukong also having his corresponding TP, but Sion not so far using it to his advantage.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very crucial time right here for TDM. We've talked about the team fighting potential coming out of HIA, but the mid-game power spikes that the carries, should I say, for TDM have, they've hit that, and this is the time when they need to be trying to force fights and really trying to prioritize this first dragon. You've got the Morello and a kill on LeBlanc right here. You've got the Infinity Edge finished on Seofox. So on This Isn't Gosu, and so they're going to get it, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. They're going for it right here, but we've got 4 members. There are places to teleport. This might end up with a fight.
Yeah, it's actually going to be Vi stealing the dragon here. A lot of damage coming down onto Team Tank Beamer. Vi going to be doing what she can, but is going to end up ulting this Caitlyn after Caitlyn takes care of the Nami. The Draven takes care of the Nami here. Draven's going to get ulted himself by the Caitlyn. LeBlanc's going to be chasing for this Vi, but so far it's a 2-for-1 in favor of the red team here. Sion did end up teleporting down. Wukong going to be trying to be taking advantage of this by getting his tower, and LeBlanc's diving so hard for this. She wants it so bad. He's going to ignite the Vi. Vi has a shield running. It may be enough to save her, and the last tick of ignite will not actually end up picking up the Vi. So LeBlanc getting a bit greedy there, and yeah, that's a huge win for the red team, as blue team tried to get that dragon but ended up losing it as well as 3 kills.
That fight was won and lost with the Orianna ultimate. You as an Orianna, you always want to try to get more than one. But what that ultimate did, if you were to look at the replay, was it actually canceled the flag and drag from Peregrinus's Jarvan right there, and that allowed him to, get absolutely deleted before he even got a chance to get off the Cataclysm. That right there was absolutely fantastic, and it just made the fight go extremely in HIA's direction. You had the fail Q coming out from Boyo, but it didn't matter. She was in range to be able to get that smite off, steals the dragon, and they come away with a victory. And that's going to make them, rock this 1.2k gold lead and really start to, propel them farther into this mid game. You see the split building coming out of Orianna, but she's going to want to get that that Zhonya is coming out soon. You've got the Infinity Edge finished on Caitlyn, and then you've got the Frozen Heart done as well on Lambter. So, you know, now that they're starting to get items, now that they're starting to ramp up, now it's their turn to start pushing the issue. They need to start pushing towers. They need to start, you know, really getting some minion advantage and start to push lanes. And it looks like Salty Reese is going to hit a hook here.
Yeah, it's going to be a hook landing. Draven's going to be doing what damage he can. That's a great lineup, but it's a bubble that's actually going to land, and the tidal wave there to disengage was the great play from the Nami, not able to die to that hook.
Yeah,
One thing that was interesting there
ahead.
is we did say Wukong pick up that tower here in the top lane, so they did preserve a bit of the gold lead that Red Team obtained from that fight. But what I'm more interested in is how they're going to be able to deal with kind of Red Team's ability to kind of, not wombo combo them, but just put down a lot of ultimates. I think Blue Team needs to start fighting around the times when Red Team's ultimates aren't up, and just because, take advantage of the fact that LeBlanc has a 20-second cooldown on her ultimate, take advantage of the fact that Wukong has a lot of dashes available, and if you play around the Shockwave, if you play around the Assault and Battery from Vi, I think you can get a lot of potential out there from Red Team.
Yeah, you know, and now is a part where, you know, you've got both teams having power spikes for themselves, but it's really going to come down to these picks right now. They need to, or sorry, TDM needs to try to prioritize a little bit more of this vision. You know, they've only got one tower in this top lane as the tower goes down, in the bot lane. So they've got the two outer towers for the top and bot lane. They need to get it for this mid lane, and if they can start to try to get some picks right here, then they can push this into a tower advantage.
Yeah, it looks like Team Dank Meme is going to be landing up in this mid lane, looking to get a pick down. It's going to be tough with 5 members of Red Team coming nearby, as Caitlyn's going to be joining the rest of her team. Instead, Blue Team's going to go back, understand that they need to look for picks elsewhere, look for picks where they have a vision advantage, and not just play ARAM, play all up in the middle there. And going to be looking for those pickoffs. Meanwhile, if you're on Team... How do you pronounce that? Team HIA. What is their team name again?
He is a.
That's so weird to say. But he is a... you know, I think they should be prioritizing other things than Team Dank Meme at this point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the things which they need to work on is like what we said, you know, they need to try to get these side lanes pushing, as actually they're doing a really good job as a mega wave is starting to be built right here in this bot lane. But, you know, one thing you can, you know, flip that around on is TDM has the teleport advantage right now. Wukong, he has the Tiamat, he has the split pushing potential as well as the teleport. And so if he can try to push up in this top or bot lane, if he can try to create a little bit more map pressure that way, then he might be able to get something off if they end up on a 4v5 engage. But that being said, the teleport is almost up on Lambter, so that strategy is going to be null and void in a couple seconds. But you're right, you know, you look at the vision control like what we keep mentioning across the board, and there really isn't any vision control, you know, outside of these basic mid lanes. You know, they're doing vision control like they want to do an ARAM, and if they're going to want to do this game, you've got too much wave clear on both sides of the field for them to really just do this, you know, ARAM in the mid lane kind of thing. And so they need to try to create advantages in other directions. You've got Dragon in 45 seconds. That's going to be the next fight that I'm looking to see.
Yeah, so it looks like that both teams will end up looking for the Dragon here. It's odd that Team Dank Meme is going to be focusing a lot of their vision around their own blue side jungle when they know that second Dragon or their own first Dragon is going to be extremely key. I wonder if they're going to try to look for maybe a pickoff before the Dragon comes, or what they're going to do. They all just shopped, and now they're spreading up different ways. So I don't know if they have this Dragon like absolutely timed, or if they're aware what HIA is going to be doing, but HIA has all 5 members here ready for this Dragon to spawn. It's going to be coming up in 10 seconds. Jarvan's going to get caught out doing some wolves. He really needs to be with the rest of his team, as Draven looks like he's going to be farming, like you mentioned, that big wave in the bot side. Meanwhile, you do have HIA stacking up in this rush with a pink ward in it. They know they have the vision advantage around this Dragon, and they will be starting it. And wow, are they doing it quickly. Blue team, Team Dank Meme, not even gonna be able to respond in time, and that's a free Dragon. Dank Meme is going to be looking for this mid tower, but the rotation coming in from HIA is going to try to pick off what they can from TDM, and it looks like TDM will be able to get away. They have relatively mobile champions, and the engage isn't super strong. Once you get past a certain range, at that point you only really have a Scion ult for engage. But yeah, it's another Dragon for free.
Yeah, that dragon is going to be very huge. It's going to help them a whole lot because it's going to give them the siege potential, a little bit of an extra bonus on that siege potential. Mr. Hype, he's going to be able to do a lot more damage to these towers. And, that was perfect timing on that Mega Wave right there. It sent the Draven, it sent the Thresh down to really clear that out. And with this, much, last-minute superior vision control, they were able to deny all vision that TDM wanted, and they end up getting the dragon.
That's actually going to be a flash burn for both mid laners here. LeBlanc looked to get a pickoff on the Orianna. That was a good try, and I believe that's what blue team needs to start doing, is looking for pickoffs like that, just because the red team Vice is starting to collapse. Sion and Vi taking out that top turret. That's their third turret of the game. They're going to look to collapse here on the mid lane, as there's 4 members of Dank Meme just sitting here trying to get this tower. Both teams on quite a bit of gold at this point. The collapse is going to come. The Nami wave is going to start things off. The Bonk dash going to get interrupted, but she's going to use her ultimate to dash again. Vi's going to go, and she has the ball on her, but it's deciding not to pull the trigger on that ultimate, as it would have taken her too far away for the Orianna ball. But they can exploit the fact that they are here with 5 members, and Wukong is stuck in the top lane. Wukong having teleport, but instead deciding to walk down, and it will be HIA backing off here. They have a lot of gold on all of their members.
Yeah, they're going to go back. They're going to get a huge power spike. 1,800 gold on that Orianna right there. She's going to go back, buy a needlessly large rod, and that is a huge power spike of damage when you have the scalings that an Orianna has. Like we keep talking about, the vision control is starting to get better. HIA starting to get, a lot deeper wards, and starting to really try to push it out the way that they need to go. You're seeing a Mega Wave being formed in favor of TDM in this bot lane. You see Lambter trying to counteract that by pushing out this top, but that being said, you do have TDM taking down the outer mid turret, all 3 outer turrets down on both sides of the field. And right now, it's really going to come down to picks on probably both sides, because if they can't, get these waves pushing in the direction that they want to go, they're going to have to try something fancy if they want to get some objectives.
Yeah, so that's going to be an issue here for TDM. We remember that we said a lot in Champs, like how reliant they were on more of a pick comp. Whereas I think if you're in HIA's position, you can kind of wait. You can take team fights whenever you need to. There's no rush there. This game is going at a relatively slow pace. We're 26 minutes in, only 7 kills. The gold is completely even. There are 3 turrets aside. Like, everything's just about as even as can be, except for the dragons. We have a pretty big LeBlanc here on Team Dank Meme. Lionheart going to be doing her damnedest to try to do as much damage as possible in these fights. Meanwhile, on the flip side, we have a Caitlyn who hasn't died yet, who's been playing very safe, and who hasn't really been touched in most of these fights.
Yeah, no, it's going to come down to, the prioritization. If they can, synchronize their ults correctly, then HIA is definitely going to have the advantage. But, that being said, you've got a really good amount of damage coming out from both sides, or from both carries on TDM. You've got the hat finished on the LeBlanc. You've almost got a Phantom Dancer right here on this Draven, and even without it, he's going to have the extra crit with the Cloak of Agility and the Infinity Edge, and if he can get the targets he wants, there's not a lot of tank coming out of HIA outside of the Sion right now. You do have the Vi deciding to go for this Black Cleaver right here with the Phage and the Kindle Gem, and that's not a lot of tank stats, so even though she's got this dive potential, with the Assault and Battery, once she's there, if she doesn't get a kill, if she doesn't have any follow-up from the Orianna Ball, or the Tidal Wave, or the Unstoppable Charge coming out of Lambter, then she's going to be in a heap of trouble, because her build right now is, she's going to try to burst somebody down, she's going to try to lock them up long enough for her team to follow up, and if she doesn't, she's going to get deleted immediately, and this isn't Gosu who's going to start trying to go on a rampage.
Yeah, we'll see if Draven can get rolling in these fights. Again, the clock is sort of on HIA's side at this point. They can afford to wait for all these dragons. They have sort of the late game here, just because the amount of control that something like an Orianna provides, she can begin to catch up in this game to the LeBlanc, who's got a kill on her, and to this Wukong, who's about 60 CS up on his lane opponent in the Sion. Sion, again, going to be tanking up even more, picking up a Frozen Heart, complementing it with a Banshees, and is going to be looking to maybe split push a lane here you saw earlier, and then maybe you exploit his TP for once, because we really haven't seen it used a lot in this game. On the flip side, it's going to be Thresh and Jarvan backing off here to spend some of their gold really, really quiet from the side of Team Dank Meme. And it's going to be quiet up to the point where we're 40 seconds away from another dragon.
Yeah, Dragon, it's right now, it's the story of the game. Both of them, both teams really wanting to prioritize the Dragon as much as they can. And, the wards are going to be expiring soon, as well as the Scuttle Crab right here for HIA, or sorry, not for HIA, for TDM. And so if they're wanting to contest this third Dragon, the movement speed buff, very, very important across the board. They're going to have to try to get some vision. They're going to have to try to do something right now. You do have two sweepers, one of them being an upgraded Oracle's Lens right here for HIA. And so they're understanding that they need to maintain Dragon control, and they need to do their best to get this Dragon. Dragon is going to spawn, and it looks like the teams are going to start to crowd around for this fight.
Yeah, 2 wards being placed in the pit by Team Dank Meme. They have a lot of ability to actually reach behind the pit and go in. They don't have to actually come around this little choke point in the river. And it is going to be started and then pulled out here by HIA. They have all 5 members there. LeBlanc's just clearing up there in the mid, and it looks like that they definitely want to contest. Sion's going to start by ultimate, but Jarvan going to get erupted, but 4-man Cataclysm pulling out. Amazing Draven ult coming out afterwards. Now LeBlanc decides to jump in. She's going to get locked down, but not before 2 members have already fallen. Wukong's on the back line. Caitlyn's going very low. Meanwhile, Sion's rampaging here as much as he can, but no one has fallen from Team Dank Meme. Sion's going to get pulled, going to get locked down, and going to get picked off. We'll see if his passive is enough to do anything. Perhaps kill the Jarvan here. Yeah, he will smack the Jarvan to death, but it just will be that 5-for-1, and it looks like Team Dank Meme is finally going to be able to pick up their first dragon in this game.
That fight, again, was won and lost by the Jarvan. He hits a 4-man ultimate right there with the Flag and Drag and the Cataclysm. He has damage with the Stalker's Blade and the Black Cleaver. He did an insane amount of damage, locked them up long enough for the Draven to get a beautiful ultimate, hitting multiple members of HIA and allowing the Wukong to catch up and get the spin to win monkey style ultimate off. And that right there won them the fight. Caitlyn could not do anything. She was dead before the fight even started. Vi and Sion tried to do everything they could, but they just lack the damage right now. And when you don't have, your big damage dealers like Orianna and like Caitlyn to really get anything off. I mean, Orianna didn't even get the shockwave off during that last fight. And so when you can lock down those carries, when you can disrupt that team fighting potential that HIA pulls off, TDM is going to win every single fight. That right there was executed to almost perfection.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good job, and it's going to provide them a huge gold bonus. We notice some items starting to crop up here. You have Black Cleavers finished on both Wukong and Jarvan. Wukong also having that Ravenous Hydra for that fight. LeBlanc looking to go towards her Void Scepter. Void Staff, excuse me. Last Whisper going to be picked up by your Draven, and Thresh going to finish his Locket. So any magic damage that HI is going to want to pop out might not be doing enough. We see Sion actually TPing to a ward there and immediately canceling it, not opting to want to go for that fight, as they were kind of scared by that last engagement. As you saw, they did initiate that last fight, and they ended up losing pretty big, and that was helped them kind of turn the tide of the game a bit there. And we'll see what Team Dank Meme can do with this now 3k gold advantage and having their first dragon.
Power spikes are the key to victory when you have, hard scaling carries like a Draven. This isn't Ghost, who goes back from that last fight, getting a double kill and picking up a last Whisper. That is going to nullify a whole lot of any kind of tank stats that Sion's wanting to crank out right now. And with a lack of armor on all the other members of HIA, he's going to be doing a disastrous amount of damage. And if he can remain safe, if he can continue to do, and have the positioning that he's been keeping up, then it's going to prove detrimental to any kind of success that HIA wants to. They need to lock him down. They need to kill him in this next fight, or they're just not going to have any kind of chance for a victory.
Yeah, and it's going to be actually more vision games played here, as it looks like LeBlanc's going to pick up once again this blue buff. We haven't seen much pick coming out from TDM thus far. HIA doing a great job of sticking together, picking fights when they need to, but at the same time, when those fights have happened, it's actually been TDM coming out on top. We'll see where the next objectives are. We haven't seen many towers taken in quite a while. The fights have mostly been around Dragon. We'll see if a Baron ends up getting started up. Again, we're 33 minutes into the game. It's 8-5 on the kill score. Very low scoring game, and it's a 4k almost advantage for Team Dank Memes here. Most of these teleports not being used to their fullest extent. Most of the fights happening around the mid lane here, but an exciting game nonetheless.
Yeah, you know, there's a whole lot of opportunities for both sides of the team. Even though HIA is down about 3K gold right now, they can still come back and win this game with the team fight potential that they have. And, you know, it's really going to come down to, you know, where they decide to position themselves. They're not going to be able to even consider getting grouped up and ulted with that Cataclysm the way that they did in the last fight. And, you know, if they can do that, if they can use this Nami ultimate to really disengage, then they might get to do something. As Draven, you know, throws the axe, gets the mid tower, that's going to be a second tower down right here. Going to create a lot more mid pressure, and it looks like they want to rotate around now towards this bot lane.
Yeah, so that was a really good job by Team Dank Meme, exploiting the fact that Caitlyn was sitting in the bot lane farming, able to pick up that tower, getting back as much gold, or getting as much, extending their lead as much as they can here. We'll see if they want to actually come out with a fight, as it looks like too clumped is HI at this point. It actually is going to be a Thresh hook landing down. Jarvan going to continue with the Flag and Drag. Nami actually forced to pop her tidal wave there, and it looks like both teams will opt to back out after a couple big ultimates expended there from HIA. Draven using his ult, but that's not as crucial to the team fights as something like a tidal wave will be whenever that fight comes. We'll see if TDM can force a fight in that amount of time that tidal wave is cooled down.
Yeah, one of the questions that they asked was, you know, exactly how much gold did that Draven get in that last dragon fight? You know, he got the 600 from getting both of the kills, but he also got roughly 800 gold from the Adoration stacks alone. So, you know, we're seeing here now how great of a snowball that a Draven can have if he gets these stacks up correctly. And sitting at 2, 1, and 4 right now, he's doing his job, and he's doing his job well. And if TDM can continue to protect him, can continue allow him to crank out this massive amount of damage, then he's going to single-handedly carry these fights.
Yeah, I really like what Draven's doing in this game. Opting for the actually upgraded Farsight Orb is a little interesting. Probably could have used some lifesteal there, but he hasn't really been too threatened in these fights. My real question here is, once we get towards this, you know, later stages of the game, obviously Caitlyn's going to be pumping out more and more damage, but where's the real damage going to be coming from here, coming out of HIA? You have Vi, who's starting to build more tanky after getting that single Black Cleaver. Sion's never going to build a damage item in his life. It's mostly going to come from the Caitlyn and Orianna, and as Thresh has already picked up a Locket, it's going to be very difficult for Orianna to get a lot of damage down before she ends up getting that Void Staff. So I think if HI want to start winning fights, because they've lost the last couple, they're going to need to start looking for picks, and the way to do that is starting with Vision, which they are at a disadvantage right now.
Yep, Dragon's live right here, teleport available as Mr. Hype throws the ultimate off to try to get some kind of damage blocked away immediately right there. But no, you're right, the damage that they have is strictly from the Caitlyn as they try to get some poke damage off. It's going to allow Saix Peregrinus to, you know, back up right there. But back to what I was saying, you're right, all the damage right now is going to be with the Orianna, is going to be with the Caitlyn. And as much as they're down right now, they're going to have to either get picks or really try to stall this game out towards the late game, get some items, and get a much bigger front line. So that way, Caitlyn can have the time to get off her DPS, to get off her crazy damage. You know, she's down an entire item right here, a whole whopping, what is it, 2200 gold right now on a Draven. That's a Last Whisper, and she's going to need that before anything down, as the Dragon is going to go down almost immediately as it gets started.
Yeah, that was a really quick Dragon coming out from TDM. I was going to mention that Science been split pushing top this whole time. He's actually got a giant wave here to the tier 3 tower, and it's going to force Wukong to TP, but that's after LeBlanc just... Oh wow, LeBlanc melts that Nami. She takes a lot of damage in response, and it will be a Sion ulting back into the mid here. Perhaps, I don't know what this Sion's up to, but he is going to be tanking this mid lane turret as 4 members of TDM are off to the chase. But it is going to be Vi getting onto the LeBlanc. LeBlanc forced to take Draven's heal here. Draven going to be popping his ultimate, doing enough damage, but it's going to be Vi ending up with the kill here on Thresh. LeBlanc's going to jump in, pick off the Orianna. Orianna not using, once again, Shockwave or Barrier in this fight. Caitlyn's going to try to ult over the wall here, but it is going to get set on cooldown. She lost vision on it, and it is actually going to be Caitlyn looking for the Jarvan, but not able to pick it up. Red team now going to look for this mid tower, as Nami's going to end up respawning here in base, and it's going to be Wukong here for the defense. Overall, a couple of kills coming out for the blue team when it looked like HIA was the one with the advantage there.
Yeah, that was a messy fight right there. Sion having to be forced to use the ultimate after the teleport was canceled out. by the Wukong ultimate right there. And, you know, it was all around, all across. It was a great assault and battery from Boyo onto Lionheart, but she just doesn't have the damage to crank it out. The heal came out from Draven, and it just was back and forth, both teams picking up a kill. But all in all, the towers defended and another stall technique. And so even though they went even, that fight is going to go in favor for HIA. If they want to, you know, get a victory in this game, if they want to start, you know, absolutely dominating these team fights, they're going to have to allow for some more items. You do have the Randuin's pickup right here by Lamter's Scion, and that's going to provide a lot more armor. You know, he's sitting at an entire 251 right now, and so if he can get that out, if he can continue to soak up that damage and get these items, that's going to allow time for Caitlyn to just sit in the back and fire it away. She's going to go back now with 1,500 gold. She's going to have enough for the Last Whisper. As the pause comes out, not sure who DC'd, but back to what I was saying is she's going to have that Last Whisper. That's going to help out a whole lot. But if you look across the board, she really doesn't need to prioritize that. What she needs to be prioritizing more is lifesteal, because she is getting bursted down all of these fights. She was forced to blow her flash on the Jarvan, and when you see in a full AD Wukong, kind of a split build Jarvan, and then a crazy amount of damage from a LeBlanc and a Draven, you really, really need some kind of lifesteal, because your job is to survive in these team fights.
Yeah, we do have a pause coming out, as it looks like Lamter is the one who's going to be lagging here, so we'll kind of wait on that. We're currently at an intermission, but we can still talk during it. Don't worry, you're not missing anything just because you get to look at some pretty artwork. It's actually been confirmed that Lamter went to go make a sandwich. He is hungry, and he has not been getting fed as Scion as much as he had hoped. Yeah, I think a big reason in these fights that's really hampering HIA, it's actually going to be Caitlyn who quits. She looks like she's DC'd. A big reason that's hindering HIA in these fights, and you saw that very, very much so in the last kind of weird little skirmish there near TDM's Tier 2 mid tower, is that they're really just lacking damage. They have some good initial damage with the Vi jumping in, but it's going to be tough for HIA to follow this up just because of the amount of, like, just because they really need Caitlyn to get off her spells. Once again, her not getting off her spells and LeBlanc actually being able to cast her spells caused that fight to go the other way immediately. Scion in there also not doing as much damage, and against a Draven can kind of just hit him at this point. He doesn't really take any punishment for it. Draven's getting peeled just fine by the Thresh. And it's HIA initiating and diving onto the backlines as much as they can, but they need to worry about their own backlines. Caitlyn and Orianna are getting picked off constantly by the LeBlanc and Jarvan, and I think Nami is a little bit overwhelmed at this point. She can't do enough. She's only rocking a Frost Queen's Claim and an Ardent Sensor. The Ardent Sensor obviously not going to really be providing much help to the rest of her team.
Yeah, you know, kind of giving a status report on exactly how this game is going. For those of you that did just join us as Kaylin is getting back into the game, this is the inaugural NA stream for the Learning Fives program. For those of you that don't know about the Learning Fives program, there's going to be a link in there for the wiki if you guys are all interested in it. We are in game one of the best of two series right now between Team Dank Meme and Team He Is A right now, subsequently known as TDM and HIA. So hopefully, you know, we're going to get back into the game soon. The all chat saying that they're going to start it very shortly. This game is really up in the air right now. Yes, you've got a 5k gold lead right now in favor of TDM, but that doesn't mean that you can rule out HIA and their team fighting prowess. If they can get the right people down, if they can get a good shockwave, then this game could go the other way very quickly.
Right, and at the same time, especially if you're on these teams and you're not too worried about the game at hand, or you're thinking elsewhere, is Jarvan going to expend a Cataclysm for Nami's flash here in the mid lane? What you start thinking about is kind of remember that, oh god, that's a Draven. Okay, Draven just decided to ult the wrong way. So that was very much not Gosu, as his name will clearly show. What I was going to say is it's kind of up to both teams to start thinking about what they want to look for next game. Obviously, HIA, not the strategy that they had hoped for, and at the same time, TDM, you know, kind of business as usual. I'm pretty sure they wanted to win fights pretty much the way that they're doing it right now. I wonder what they're going to end up changing up. But before we get to that, we still have a game to finish here, and it is going to be TDM sieging into the top tier 2. Not really with any sort of advantage here, not really really any reason to be up here other than just like 5 people happen to be up here, and which isn't the best reason for deciding to actually siege a turret, and they are going to back off. They have about 1,500 gold on the Jarvan, 800 on the Wukong. Wukong's going to go back, and maybe they're going to try to look for a pick-off here. Instead, it's actually going to be HIA, who's just kind of sitting back. They're cool just farming. They don't need any rush to fights. They need to try to get back in this game as much as they can. They need to get that armor pen up on Caitlyn, which they have. They need to get the magic pen, more or less, up on the Orianna, and she's actually instead decided to go for a Negatron Cloak, which may hurt her in the long run if she's not able, if she does end up getting off of her spells and it's not enough damage.
No, you're right. You know, it's going to really come down to exactly, you know, what they're wanting to prioritize and what they're wanting to focus right here. Monkey finally decided to go back and get a giant spell, so we might see, you know, a sixth item Randuin's or something like that coming out, but he is doing work right now for this top lane. 204, he's 130, roughly 130 CS ahead of Lamter Scion. That right there shows, you know, how much you play, much you played, as it looks like Lamter wants to go in here. Into
He's
a
gonna
wall.
ult straight into a wall. I think he was expecting Vi to actually go up on that, and that would have been a great engagement actually for HIA. They had the Draven and the, I believe the LeBlanc there, kind of just separated from the rest of the team. Wukong was not there. He did have his TP, but if Vi went in with the Caitlyn ult, HIA potentially could have gotten a really, really good fight started there. Instead, they're going to be looking to clear up some vision around Baron. I'm not really sure that they're in a position to do it right now, as this dragon, which is blue, will end up being very, very important. It's going to be the third dragon for one of these teams. It's going to be spawning in about a minute here.
Yep, Dragon, as we've seen time and time again, is the most contested. Now, sitting at 2-2 for Dragons, this third dragon, both teams are going to want to lock down. You know, that 5% movement increase is going to be huge when you're moving across the map. You've got a really good Mega Wave starting in this bot lane right now. But on the flip side, you've got another one started on this top lane. So both waves are going to be splitting the pressure, and this is going to rule in favor right here of TDM. You know, their bot wave is pushing up. They're forced to move it around, and they're going to try to get this dragon. They do get Mr. Krabs right here. They're going to get the vision. Dragon's going to be up in less than 20 seconds, and it's really going to come down to how both teams decide to play this fight out for what happens in the future.
Yep, Dragon's going to be spawning here. Again, we're 43 minutes into this game, so this game is starting to get in that phase where you think about very, very late game. You start to look at team comps and what they do once you get past that early stages, and I'd say the advantage can actually lie with either team depending on who's more fed. Right now, it's kind of a more... Oh my goodness, there goes the Orianna. Once again, Orianna just getting soloed out by the LeBlanc. LeBlanc having that Void stuff up as well as the needlessly large rod, just nullifying completely what Orianna had going with that Negatron, and Blue Team will turn that into the third of 5 dragons in the game. Wow.
I mean, there's really no explanation or analysis needed on that. That is just a LeBlanc that's 5-1-3 and has items, you know, but this death right here and this dragon, there's a 30-second death timer. There might be a chance that they're going to go for this Baron, as it looks like St. Peregrine's is going to start right here, first Baron of the game. It's going to get pointed out right here by Boyo. But, you know, if she gets this steal, then it's going to be huge right here for them, because she's one-on-one to get it. Caitlyn ultimate pops, and we might see a fight.
Oh no, it's actually going to be flashing over, but it's just too late. Blue Team easily going to pick that one up. Zion actually going to be coming in. Great knockouts coming, but where's the damage? Caitlyn and Orianna not being there, and it's going to be Blue Team. TDM starting to get those ults off, and they're going to get a couple of kills here. Orianna not being there for that fight. She's still sitting in base as she was respawning, and it's going to be 3 kills, 2 of them going for the Draven. LeBlanc almost getting taken out by the Caitlyn, but not quite, and then it's a Baron down for TDM.
3-0 with a Baron. That right there is just showing the snowball potential that we talked about at the beginning of the game right there. This isn't Gosu 4-1-0. You know, Lionheart 6-1-3, and then the Monkey King Skeletor at 2-0-5 right now. They are showing their dominance of a snowball comp, and they are really starting to put the pressure on HIA. If they have any chance to want to come back right now, they're going to have to do all they can to stall out this Baron push right here and really try to force this. You know, we keep saying the late game. Well, the late game's upon us, but they're going to have to get into the fifth quarter overtime almost if they want any kind of chance to come back in this game.
Yeah, you're talking about being a snowbally comp, but of course we're snowballing at 45 minutes in the game. Doesn't really I don't know if that's quite what they want to look, or that's exactly what they had drawn up at the beginning of the game. But they are getting stronger and stronger. They are winning fight after fight. They're extending that lead to 10K, and now we're reaching the 45-minute mark. They got 3 dragons. They got the Baron. They're going to start looking for inhibitors at this point, and HI is going to have to figure out something that they need to do. They need to start fighting together. They need to find out some sort of fight that works for them and figure out a way to win this game.
It's going to come down to what TDM decides to do with this Baron. Lionheart gets the blue buff. She's going to be able to spam some distortions and throw out some chains. And, you know, this is really where crunch time happens for TDM. You know, if they want to close this game out, if they want to not allow HIA to have a chance to come back into this, then they're going to really need to use this Baron to their advantage and really start to try to push the pressure. Yes, you've got a lot of wave clear right now from HIA, but when you've got this Baron, you know, this empowered Baron buff caster minion, then you're going to be able to do the damage. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, you've almost got the damage to probably try to get a dive out right now. And if that happens, it's going to be up to Prytania to get a shockwave off. She's going to have to make sure that she gets all the disengage as well as ASIC music on that tidal wave. And if they can't get that and the gates get opened with one of these towers down, then it's going to be very difficult for them to have any chance of coming back.
Yeah, so what TDM's going to do is they're going to set a 1-3-1 going. They have LeBlanc here in the bot lane. They know she can pretty much 1v1 whoever she wants. I wonder if that's going to be a signal to HIA to perhaps engage in the mid lane, as the Wukong won't be there for at least 4 seconds while that teleport's running, and maybe you can try to break something here. It's going to be a Thresh hook that barely misses Denami. She's able to skirt out of there. Remember, Draven has picked up his GA at this point, so he is nigh unkillable. And LeBlanc also with Azonias. The defensive items are starting to come out for the damage dealers of TDM, and it's going to be up to HIA to try to focus the damage where they need to and to play around those defensive items. It's going to be tough. Jarvan with 4,200 health is a massive tank. He's going to be running on the backline so hard with that Righteous Glory. Thresh, also a pretty big tank, can give, you know, something like 500-600 damage and shields to his team. As well as Lambter. He's putting up 3k health, but he also has 350 AD. He is a force to be reckoned with. The Baron buff has now worn out, so using that Baron buff for almost nothing except for the fight is going to be TDM. And they're at 1-3-1, kind of turned into a 5-man push down the middle. It doesn't look like they're going to be getting anything unless they try to just force it up the middle.
Yeah, Baron's going to go down for them, and you know their little attempts to push, they got an inner top turret out of it, but they really didn't get much else. That's going to bode well for HIA right there. You know, they're pushing up, but outside of that, they're not really doing any other pressure. They're thinking that once they push up, they're going to have to go right back to the mid lane and try to get something, and it's just not going to work right here when you have the amount of wave clear that Prytania is kicking out. He's got the hat finished, he's got the Zonias.
Yeah, but you have Thresh keep fishing for these hooks inside the base. I do like it. He landed one on the Caitlyn, and I'm surprised that they didn't go in on this. I think they're strong enough to do that. They go ahead and send Wukong back into that top lane. Caitlyn, they notice, is in the bot lane, so this could be a call to engage. Thresh hook is going to land. Nami's going to be forced to flash, take a lot of damage, and there she goes. LeBlanc going to be able to pick her up. Cyano finally going to hit good. Orianna with a beautiful shockwave, but LeBlanc is Zonia's this whole time. Draven's putting down a lot of damage, but don't forget about this LeBlanc. She's going to be killing out this Orianna pretty soon here, but the Caitlyn has been untouched this fight. Now Wukong has entered the fight. He's going to be looking for this Orianna, able to pick it up under tower. He still has his ultimate and is waiting to use it. Going to be using it right there on the Caitlyn, doing so much damage to this Caitlyn. Caitlyn going to die right away. Double kill for Wukong coming in. Meanwhile, Draven and LeBron pushing into this mid lane. It's a 4-for-0 right now, and it looks like they should be able to get at least one inhib. As Jarvan has moved off to the top lane, the tower's already gone. He's battling Sion here, trying to get this second inhib, as here comes the rest of the party. Sion's going to get hooked. I wonder if they're going to be able to get a kill on him. He is so tanky right now, but instead they're just going to opt for the inhibitor. 2 inhibitors down. We'll see if they try to go for some Nexus turrets here. They do have some creeps heading into the base, but it looks like they're waiting for Skeletor 420 to push into this bot wave and maybe get 3 inhibs. They're going to start moving on these Nexus turrets. Sion's there to defend. Nami's going to be respawning. The rest of the team up relatively soon, but this is the first Nexus turret going to be going down. Sion ult is back up. He's going to use it. Knock up the LeBlanc and Thresh. Thresh going to get taken pretty low here as well as the LeBlanc, but remember, this is a Draven and Wukong pushing in the bot lane. They're going to pick up the tier 3 tower. They're going to pick up the inhibitor. That's 3 inhibs down. Rest of HIA is about to respawn here, and it will be a 3 inhib for nothing fight.
Yeah, you know, Gate 1, Gate 2, Gate 3 all down. They probably could have finished the game with the death timers being where they're at right now, but instead they opt to go with the safe decision. All 3 inhibs down right here. This is going to be 3 inhibs, almost an ace, a 4th dragon This game is in TDM's hands, and they are in control if they so choose, to win this game. They're going to go back. All members are going to be spending the amount of gold. That's 3K gold right there, and 4K gold for the mid and top laners, respectively. And at this point, hope is almost out the door for HIA. If they have, at this point, there's really almost nothing that they can do to stop it. If you look back at that initial fight right there in the mid lane, you had a great Orianna ultimate, but she just doesn't have the damage. The MVP for that fight is going to be the Lock of the Iron Solari that Thresh was having. There's no penetration on this Orianna right now, so anything and everything that she tries to do is going to get thrown out the window immediately with the resistances that TDM has. And that's smart itemization on their part, and that's really what's winning them these fights. Couple that with a LeBlanc who's 7-1-4. She's full build right now. She's doing an unbelievable amount of damage. Can one-shot pretty much anyone outside of this out of this Scion right now. And you look over, on the flip side to the Draven, 5-1-5 is up about 20 CS as TDM's going for this Baron right now. He sold his boots and went for the Zephyr. He is, they're all, you said it, a force to be reckoned with, and it's just proving disaster for anything that HIA is trying to do. There goes the Baron. The last push is going to happen. This might be game doom.
Yeah, this should be HIA starting to look for not so much what you can do to win this game. Draven critting for 1600, dear lord. It's not so much that, but what we really need to be looking for at this point is, okay, remember, this is a series of best of 2, so they get a second game here. They start needing to think, do they have a second comp that they're going to pull out? If you listen to the pregame, their coach actually was saying that they just have one thing they're really good at, so we'll see if they want to work on anything, try to improve that, as there are so many Baron minions in the base right now. There's not really much. The fight is going to happen, but Jarvan's going to lock up 3 members. Caitlyn's going to be taking a lot of damage from these super minions. Super minions are everywhere. They're all Baroned up. It's really scary if you're a member of HIA. 5 members are going to go down there, nothing doing, and it's going to be the game. 52 minutes, Team Dank Beam going to pick this one up. They go 1-up here in the best of 2.
And this game's over, like you said, it is a best of 2, so there is a chance for HIA to come back and exact some revenge before the matches end. And it's really going to come down to this next pick ban phase. You've seen the damage output that this Draven has. You've seen the, immense amount of skill that Skeletor has on that Wukong. Now the question goes, are you going to try to ban out the Wukong? Because now the sides flip, so blue side is going to go to HIA now, so they have the chance to first pick that Wukong and get Lambter on his main champion. Are they going to do that, or to try to counteract that, is TDM going to ban away the Wukong to make sure that nobody can get it? There's a lot of different options they can do. There's a lot of different routes that this next pick ban phase can figure out. But to go into some further, post-game analysis, I'm going to throw the ball back over to Pisket or Josh, our host for the evening. He's got the coaches going to be in the waiting room right there, and we're going to get this post-game into play and see what we can do and what are these teams going to do for on this intermission before game 2. Pisket or Josh, take it away, bud.
Thanks a lot, Jump and Doom. Great cast on game 1. We saw that game go to 52 minutes and 37 seconds. Didn't quite go the way that we expected it to go in the pregame analysis, but we have the coaches in here. We're just going to pull them for a couple of minutes before we let them go to go talk to their team once again. So I'm going to throw it to the captain, or rather the coach of TDM, Stormbrew. You guys kind of had this team comp that kind of relied on snowballing early on, but we saw it happen later on in the game, and we saw that really, really massive team fight around Dragon happen that really set your team up for success later in the game. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Well, to be honest, the game this time was a little bit uncharacteristic of at least my team, but I think based on Hiei's team, it seemed very uncharacteristic for them too. I think that they generally were just afraid of fighting on both sides for most of the game, and really all I chalked this game up, not to say anyone did anything particularly terrible, but I think that a lot of this just really came down to one team making less mistakes than the other, and we made a lot more mistakes in the early part of the game and we started to lose, and then the other team started to make more mistakes later, and I think both teams really kind of got desperate in different stages, and it was a very back and forth game, and I don't know, it was a lot different than we've normally played, but I will definitely have a lot to talk about with my team after this one.
Hiei, I'm gonna throw it directly to you. Do you think his assessment of the game was accurate, or do you have anything you disagree with on?
Uh, yeah, we were actually in our own room, so we were discussing a lot of the points of this game, and we do agree on some of the things, but just more of my perspective because obviously I'm watching from a different emotional viewpoint because I want my team to win. So I think at one point in the game we got the dragon fight that we wanted. That's what we were prepping for the entire time, and then we were ahead. But then they were too scared to do anything with it until they waited for another dragon, and then unfortunately it was just too many missteps in that fight, which led to a five-man cataclysm into Dravenel, and then the game just snowballed too much from there. I think if we had just stayed as five after the dragon fight and looked for fights as well as warding in their jungle, I think the game would have been a lot different.
So just one more question for you guys before we throw it back. Hiei, talking about how your team displayed a little bit of hesitance. Is there something that you're gonna tell your team in the 5 minutes that we have in between games to really maybe get them going on the right track for game two?
I think a lot of it is just making sure they're playing calm, they're playing their game that they need to play. Uh, Make sure I calm them down, the nerves aren't getting to them, because I'm sure for both teams the nerves did play a huge factor in this game. So hopefully I can just talk them down a little bit, make sure everyone's doing fine, and that we don't make the same mistakes we're going to make.
All right, Sornru, any last words from you before we throw it to our break?
I'm pretty much on the same page as Hiei. I just think that a lot of our team issues were because they were getting a little bit too nervous, and they really. My strategy is kind of going to be the same thing, really, just to make sure everybody's calm, make sure everybody is a lot more focused, and just to kind of be relaxed and get ready for the next game.
So nerves and apprehension seem to be the common theme and OP in this game one out of the best of two series. TDM up one game in the series so far. We're going to take a 5 minute intermission, but we'll see if they can tie it up, make it 1-1, or we'll see if TDM take a 2-0 sweep. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, guys. Give these coaches a chance to talk to their teams. Thank you. All right, guys, thank you for hanging out during our intermission. We're going to jump right into game 2 of this series. I managed to kick Dune out because I said, yo, bro, I'm going to cast one, so I'm going to be doing your play-by-play for game 2. We're going to have picks and bans started in just a couple of seconds, but Like I said again, I'm your host and your play-by-play caster for Game 2, Piscator Josh. Again, I have with me BC Jumpman filling in the color. What's up, my brother? BC Jumpman being a little mic shy at the moment, but we should be having...
Oh, the mic was off. I'm fine. I'm here. What's up, guys? Let's get this Game 2 underway. I'm so excited for this. I want to see HIA with a comeback. We almost saw it on Wednesday, and Urgods almost got upended, but, you know, they came strong and they pulled away. But I want to see the comeback here. I want to see if we can get this series tied and finished at 1 run right here. But it looks like we're getting right into the ban phase.
No, I thought it was really interesting how each of the coaches talked about how nerves and apprehension played such a big part. Usually you talk about, oh man, we didn't get enough vision, we didn't team fight very well, but both the coaches were pretty honest in saying, you know what, both of our teams really nervous. But I anticipate, especially considering the long game that they played, it really gave them a chance to loosen up and warm up. So I'm hoping to see a lot more 5-on-5 craziness. But so far in terms of bans, nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the Sejuani and we've got the Nautilus, two bans that we saw from the last game, so we're already understanding that there is some jungle prioritization right now, as well as the Morgana right there. So both teams not wanting to deal with Morgana's 4 games, 1 or 2 right now. TDM thinking very hard on what they're going to want to do. Orianna actually gets banned out right here, so that's not a pick they're wanting to mess with, even though they luckily were able to, you know, fend it off and really destroy a lot of that wombo combo that HIA was trying to bring to the table. Again, something that we mentioned right after the game, right after game 1. Are they going to prioritize this this Wukong pick? Draven gets banned away immediately. They don't want this Isn't Gosu on him at all, so he's going to have to try to get some different bans or some different picks. And the Jinx ban comes out as well, which, like we already know, there goes the Monkey lock-in. They don't want it to go to Skeletor, and Lamter claims himself to be the Monkey King. They both main this champion, and it does get locked in, so already, and as we were assuming and predicting, this Monkey is going to be a priority pick.
I think it's funny. You're like, yo, man, you got it. We had it last time. We'll just give it over this time. Just those saying in the chat who are a bit confused about target bans. What we mean by target bans is in game 1, we don't want teams going on op.gg or LOL King and seeing what champions these players play, because the ultimate goal is you're playing as a team. You don't really want to ban out certain players. You want to ban out according to your team comp. However, we do see the target bans coming out in game 2 because that is more of an adjustment to the changing circumstances between these two teams. They saw Draven start doing really well, so they're going to take that away. Orianna, while they did not have as great of a performance on Ori, they realized, hey, this is a champion that this guy has spent a lot of time on, maybe very comfortable with. Let's just make him more uncomfortable. Or then again, maybe they're just not really looking to give him a late game carry mage.
Yeah, you know, and that's going to force, you know, and this Draven ban is also, again, going to force this Isn't Gosu off onto something else, and it looks like they're going to go with a Kalista right here. I'm already liking TDM's comp right now. They've got the Ahri, which was actually banned out in the last game, so Lionheart can clearly play this champion. They go with the Vi right here, so taking it out of the hands of HIA and putting it into the Vi. But no, this mid lane matchup right now, I'm really liking it. Whereas you saw TDM going with this assassin, you know, kind of, or this assassin in the mid lane, they're going to it again with the Ahri pick. But, you know, keeping consistency across all sides of the field, you're going with another control mage in the Ziggs. I really like the Ziggs pick right now, especially if you look at a lot of what TDM is bringing to the table. Ziggs, another great wave clearing champion, is really going to allow them to, to, you know, fend off any kinds of attacks. But, you know, something that kind of gets undervalued as well, he's actually pretty good at pushing towers too. His passive, you know, with that extra AP in the auto attack, makes it where he can push pretty well. You add a Lucian into the mix, and they've got a pretty good early pushing comp that they can do with something. I want to see what they're going to decide to go with for the jungler and for the support, because that's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to do it. But right now, I really like how HIA is combating it, and wow, they're going with the Nunu as well as the Leona right now. This is a very strong comp right here that they're doing. They have fantastic mid game. We all know how strong the mid game power spikes of all of these champions are, and you throw a Nunu into the mix, they're going to have great objective control, and they're really going to be able to float around the map seamlessly.
Man, purple team, TDM has one of those team comps where everybody kind of gets thrown forward at once. Vi jumps in there, Hecarim, Onslaught of Shadows right in there, Callista, Fate's Call, throws Thresh in there, and Ahri just gonna be able to run around on the outskirts of the fight, picking off people with her charm. That's gonna be really, really scary to face.
Yeah, I mean, I really like TDM's comp right here, but they run into a problem that that they ran into last time, where they can go in, but they really can't come out. I mean, yes, you've got the ultimate from Callista, but outside of that, once they're in the fight, they're in the fight right here. And so, but that being said, they have pretty good mid-game spikes. You've got Hecarim, who generally builds, you know, the good old Triforce build. You've got Ahri, so if she decides to rush that Morello's or the Luden's Echo even, then she's going to have a good power spike. And then you have Callista. Callista, you know, not a champion that people talk about a lot as far as mid-game prowess, but you know, she's very undervalued in that sense. She is a fantastic late-game champ. You know, as this saying goes, you know, as your Callisto, you're kind of weak early, but once you get items, once you get that Bloodthirster, once you get that Ruined Hurricane, then you can crank out a lot of damage. And when you look at the comp that HIA is bringing to the table, a Wukong, a Nunu, a low-range AD carry in Lucian, and a Leona, that's a lot of, you know, really close grouping together champions that are going to, the Callista is going to wreak havoc on once she gets that Hurricane out with the Ren stack. So for her being, you know, the carry and the deciding factor in this game, like Gosu was, like this isn't Gosu was on that Draven in the last game, because, you know, if she can dance around the fight, if she can get off, you know, the amount of Rin stacks that she's wanting, and, you know, you flip it around to Ahri, and if Ahri can rush around the fight with her ultimate and get down the priority picks in the Lucian, in the Ziggs, then they're going to take these fights away. But you flip it over, and the objective control that HIA brings to the Rift is very, very good. And I want to see, you know, they try to get these early objectives, they try to get some early tower pushes, and really just try to out-pressure everything that TDM tries to bring out.
Yeah, that's something I feel like was a bit lacking in Game 1, especially with these teams a little bit nervous to push their power windows, to push those little edges. Having the objective control in somebody like Nunu, whose skip pretty much forces you to focus on dragons and focus on getting vision down. Hopefully they can loosen up, they can shake out some of those nerves, really, really push the edges that these champions offer. This is a really scrappy team comp that HIA have too. You have those really, really, really disruptive abilities is what I like to call them.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to come down to, in my opinion, the early game transition into the mid game, because as we saw, you know, a lot of the fights were around dragons. Both of these teams prioritize dragon above all else, and it's not until they start to get dragon ramp up and the effects from dragon, you know, they get dragons and it gives them the confidence to go into the jungle and get some deep wards out. It's gonna come down to that, and you know, with that, then the advantage is gonna go down to Boyo on that Nunu. If he can get the smite consume off, you know, it doesn't really matter how hard you try, you're not gonna outsmite him in that regard. But that being said, we got about 30 seconds left in the delay. We're gonna get into the load screen right here, guys. This is game 2 of the NA inaugural stream for the Learning Fives program right here. We're gonna kick it to a quick music intermission right now as the teams get loaded onto the Rift. Get out your hype sticks right here, right into chat, hashtag TDM win or hashtag HIA win, to try to give us an idea of who you feel is going to win this game. We will be back in a second.
Guys, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us throughout the entirety of this stream. We're jumping right into Game 2. TDM with the 1-0 lead in this best-of-2 series. Introducing your players one more time. On the blue side, we have HIA this time in the top lane. We have Lamter on his familiar Wukong. Nice work, Boyo, on Nunu in the jungle. Prytania on Ziggs in the mid lane. Mr. Hype and Asec Music rounding out the L bot lane with Lucian and Leona. Jump, take it away with our red team. Somebody owes me a 100 mystery skins if Jump muted his mic yet again.
30 seconds until minions.
I hate my life. Sorry. Flipping over to the red side here, we've got Skeletor 420 trying to combat, the glorious Wukong that he played by going against it this game, playing that the lovely teleport, ignite, Hecarim in that top lane. We've got Segs Peregrinus taking over the Vi in the jungle, X Lionheart on the Ahri mid lane. This is it, Gozu and Salty Reese playing on that Callista and Thresh for the bot lane. Already we've seen a lot more split positioning right here for both teams. We see it looks like it's going to be standard lanes all around. We've got some very basic defensive wards coming out right here in favor of HIA, and I don't see anything too crazy coming out from this game right here, right off of the bat. You do have a really strong bot lane on both sides of the field. Yes, you've got a good all-in potential from Lucy and Leona, but you've also got the hidden potential right here from Callista. People kind of underestimate a lot of her damage in the early game. Yes, she is weak, but if she can allow for an extended skirmish, if she can get the run stacks off, then she's going to do an absolutely crazy amount of damage right here.
And it's not just the rent stacks too, it's the passive on her Sentinel, and especially with Thresh having empowered auto attacks through his Flay, just basic auto attack trades, very, very scary from a Callista Thresh.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that it's really going to come down to who this Leona decides to focus right here, and if they go, and really try to get Callista